I guarantee you're going to make more progress in just a day than you would have made in the last several years for your English language GCSE paper. Now, if you're a student who's struggling on low grades and feeling like, how can I get my grades up to the top level for English GCSE? It doesn't really seem possible. I'll be honest with you, that's true. It's not really possible to get your grades up within a matter of days for English language if you were to do it traditionally. Thankfully, we don't have to do it traditionally.
What you talking about, Willis?
If you're a student who's really worried about the English language GCSE paper, then this is the video for you. So just take a moment and get pen and paper out and note down these things, because I'm going to talk about a lot of things here. Before we dive into how you can write a grade 7, 8, 9 essay, let's analyze how a traditional student would write a grade 9 essay. Traditionally, a student who scores high marks is an avid and voracious reader throughout the years in secondary school. Now, that means that they build up this kind of knowledge bank in their head of what good writing looks like and what bad writing looks like. And they're able to make judicious decisions, which means they're able to judge which are the good pieces of writing, what words and what vocabulary and what phrases, all of these things they can incorporate. But you can't do that. How do we now rectify this? The way we're going to rectify it is we're still going to follow that plan.
How to answer descriptive or narrative writing questions in English language.
But we're going to condense that plan into a few minutes. What you need to do is just go straight to the source and get it from an expert. So here it is. Here are all the things that you need to get top grades in English language. Now, I'm sure the smart pants amongst you will say, I've already tried that, but I still can't improve my grades. Because one thing is knowing theory, not like science or maths, where you can just improve knowing the knowledge. You have to actually be able to apply it. And you're spot on. And that is why I've made this video. On November 30th, an artificial intelligence revolutionized the world. Something known as ChatGPT, which is a large language learning model, was released to the public, and people have gone nuts and using all of these different use cases 50, 60 times a day to summarize really complicated pieces of new knowledge that they're learning. So there's lots of use cases out there. But how does it apply to English language? The way we're going to use it for English language is the list of all of the things that make good writing. We're going to apply it and we're going to tell ChatGPT to write an amazing essay for us. There are certain ways of asking it questions that are going to yield better results.
Teach me.
And the way we want to do it is you want to put an objective, like what the actual question is. Then you want to include maybe what the format of this output is. Then include all of the things that make it a grade 9 essay. And then you might even want to try this temperature thing, which is about creativity. So you want to make it as creative as possible. So if you do 1, that's the most creative output, and 0.1 is like bog standard, not so creative. So we've got all of these inputs. We press enter and Bob's your uncle. In a few seconds, you get this amazing output. Now this output, generally speaking, has quite a few limitations. So don't just take this and start running away. No, it doesn't work like that. See, there's two types of people in the world. People who think ChatGPT can't really help us. And there's people who think this is here, this is going to eat up all our jobs, it's going to replace us completely. Actually, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth is what is known as human in the loop. So you've got this technology piece of ChatGPT, which is producing this nice piece of writing. Nothing super amazing, but nothing terrible either. But what we need is we need to insert the human element to it. And that's what you're going to do. So realize what the drawbacks of ChatGPT are, and then let's go and insert all the human elements. Okay, so firstly, it'll give you a very airy fairy tale Disneyland type of story or description a lot of times. And sometimes that's useful, but in 99% of the case, it just seems too generic and too fairy tale, and you can't really access a grade 9 if you're writing a fairy tale. So one thing we need to do is we need to make this a bit darker. So we can try getting ChatGPT to do it, but trust me, I've spent literally 50 hours in preparation for this video.
What do you mean by that?
It's not really possible. You guys are more than welcome to try it though. Other things you need to watch out for is if you give ChatGPT a prompt, which is the instructions, sometimes it'll use those words in the essay. So you just need to go back and maybe edit that out, or just tell ChatGPT to remove those. So for example, if I tell it to contrast two settings or something like that, then it'll often write in the essay, say, you can see the contrast from earlier on, from the dark to the light, for example. And obviously that's not what we're going for. We don't want to tell the examiner that we're doing contrast or we're doing juxtaposition. Another thing that ChatGPT does is use cliches a lot. You have to tell it to avoid using cliches. Now, here's the problem. Like, if you haven't read up a lot, you might not even recognize what a cliche is. Hopefully me telling you about cliches will help you become a bit more informed and watch out for cliches. You may also want to write multiple versions with ChatGPT. You want to do multiple pieces, and maybe you want to swap out certain bits, because what happens is, as I mentioned, it's a large learning language model, which means it's predicting the next words. And therefore, sometimes it misses out some pieces of instructions that you've given it. But it might have done it in another essay. So maybe you want to swap bits and bobs where you think, oh, this is a nice paragraph, this is a nice sentence. Insert it into your ultimate draft. So you're creating this magnificent draft, which is going to get you the top grades. Now, I'm using GPT-4, which is a paid version. It costs about £20 a month.
Money!
And I would highly recommend, if you're going to go with this strategy, just purchase this GPT-4. There's two routes you can go down. You can go down the narrative route, or you can go down the descriptive route. I would say it's a lot easier to go down the descriptive route because 2 points. One, it's really hard to write good narrative writing in a short space of 40 minutes. And two, ChatGPT is also weaker at narrative writing. But just in case you did want to go down the narrative route, here are all the things that I would watch out for. As you can see, I've broken my arm. It's really hard to set up all the camera and the equipment and everything with just one hand. And write grade 7 essays. Subscribe for sympathy. Please. Here are some ideas that you would be able to use to improve upon the basic narrative that it's going to give you. Some of these will work well, some of these won't work well with ChatGPT, but maybe you can just do your own flavor on it. And remember, like, it's a human in the loop process that we're using. So we're not completely going and relying on ChatGPT. And then the final part is really important to understand. Look, this human in the loop, which is not you, is the examiner or your teacher or your tutor. You really want to utilize their help, because ChatGPT on its own is not yet at a standard which it can get you to a top grade 9. And neither probably are you if you're watching this video. We need to send our drafts, or the amalgamation of all of these different drafts that we've put together from ChatGPT, and we've tweaked it a little bit. We're going to send it into the examiner. Ping! They're going to mark it. They're going to give you feedback. They're going to say probably it's too generic, probably it's too fairy tale. And what you're going to do is you're going to then tweak it, and you're going to send it straight back to them. You're going to say, hey, here's an updated version. What do you think this is? And they're going to give you some harsh marking, and they're going to say, I think this is a 33 out of 40, for example. And then you're going to do improvements until you are at 100% with this draft. Then you're going to commit huge chunks of this to your brain. Ideally all of it, and then tweak it to what the question is. For example, the question is about a beach, and you've memorized an essay about a busy street. And what you're going to do is you're going to just tweak. Maybe the beach is next to a busy street. Maybe you incorporate some elements of the beach in there. Maybe you talk about the contrast between the beach and a busy street. Maybe the question is about an old man. And what you do is you then talk about the old man walking down a busy street. Easy peasy. In English, 1 + 1 can equal 5 if you want. As long as you back your points, as long as you make it credible, as long as you've worked through your feedback and you've got your grade 9 essay, then boom.
Boom.
You're ready to rock and roll. Literally, you can spit this out within a few hours, within 30 minutes probably, and then work on updating it. If this video gets 10,000 plus views, I'll make part 2, which will go through how you write persuasively for the non-fiction part, which again is 50% of that paper. Be sure to share this with as many friends as you can.
You don't have any friends.
What do you mean by that?
If you guys have got better prompts or you've come across interesting things, feel free to share in the comment section below. Catch you guys soon. Adios.